Imagine standing on the walls of a besieged city. An enemy fleet, vast and seemingly invincible, closes in. Annihilation feels inevitable. The water around you boils with enemy arrows. But then, something unimaginable happens. From your ships, a stream of liquid fire erupts, clinging to the sea, burning right on the water's surface, consuming the enemy vessels, turning them into blazing infernos. Panic seizes the foe, and you've just witnessed a miracle that saved an entire empire. This isn't fantasy, this is Greek fire, the most mysterious and devastating weapon of the ancient world, whose secret was lost for centuries. How was it created? Who was its inventor? And why is it still impossible to perfectly replicate today? Are you ready to dive into a story that changed the course of major wars and struck terror into the hearts of empires? If so, hit that like button to support our channel and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss other thrilling tales hidden deep within the annals of history. The walls of Constantinople, mighty and gleaming under the Byzantine sun, stood as a beacon of civilization. But by the 7th century CE, that beacon was flickering. From the sun-baked deserts of the Arabian Peninsula, a new, formidable power had erupted: the Arab Caliphate. Their armies, driven by faith and fervor, had swept across vast swaths of the old Roman world, consuming lands that once belonged to empires. Now their sights and their vast fleets were fixed squarely on the glittering capital itself. The air in the besieged city was heavy with a palpable sense of dread. Wave after relentless wave, immense Arab armadas, bristling with warriors and siege engines, launched assault after assault on Constantinople's formidable sea walls. The Byzantines, though inheritors of Roman tenacity, were often outnumbered. Conventional naval warfare favored the attackers, whose ships seemed endless. From the city's battlements, the citizens watched in growing terror as enemy vessels swarmed the Sea of Marmara and pressed towards the Golden Horn, their crescent banners a grim promise of impending doom. The fall of Constantinople wasn't just a military defeat, it was an existential threat, the gateway to Europe laid bare for conquest. The emperor, his generals, and the city's wise men debated strategies, but their options dwindled with each passing day. Despair was a cold, creeping fog. Ordinary defenses, brave soldiers, and powerful catapults simply weren't enough against such overwhelming numbers and the sheer determination of the Arab fleet. The city needed more than courage, it needed a miracle. In a quiet corner of this anxious city, far from the clamor of the battlements, a mind was racing. This was Callinicos, a brilliant reclusive inventor and chemist from Heliopolis, modern Baalbek, who had fled his homeland after its conquest by the very Arabs now besieging Constantinople. He wasn't a warrior, but he possessed a different kind of weapon, an intellect unburdened by tradition. He saw the ships, the endless waves, and felt the despair, not with a soldier's resignation, but with a scientist's urgent desire to solve an impossible problem. For months, perhaps years, Callinicos had been experimenting in secret, driven by a vision of a fire that could defy nature itself. His workshop, hidden deep within the city, was a chaotic array of bubbling cauldrons, strange powders, and pungent fumes. Many of his attempts ended in failure, some dangerously so. Explosions, blinding flashes, and noxious gases were his constant companions. But Callinicos persisted, fueled by an almost obsessive conviction that a solution existed, a way to turn the very elements against the empire's enemies. The stakes were nothing less than the survival of Constantinople and perhaps the Byzantine world itself. He knew the risk he ran, both from his dangerous experiments and from the wrath of the emperor should he fail. Yet the shadow over Constantinople was too vast, too terrifying for him to stop. His desperate search for a weapon that defied the rules of war continued, pushing him ever closer to a terrifying revolutionary discovery. Callinicos was consumed by his work. The ceaseless clamor of the siege outside faded into a distant hum as he meticulously tested various compounds. His hidden workshop reeked of sulfur and bitumen, punctuated by the sharp tang of countless failed experiments. Days bled into nights, marked only by the flickering lamplight reflecting off his weary, determined face. He blended resins with raw naphtha, experimented with quicklime, and tested various forms of sulfur, seeking that elusive combination that would turn mere fire into an inferno that defied nature itself. Failure was a constant companion. Mixtures would ignite too slowly, burn out too quickly, or simply refuse to adhere to anything. Some exploded violently, singeing his brows and filling his lungs with acrid smoke. Others, intended to be devastating, merely fizzled into an embarrassing mess. The constant threat of discovery, either by an enemy spy or by a curious guard who might report his clandestine activities, hung heavy over him. Yet the image of Arab ships swarming the Golden Horn and the desperate faces of Constantinople's citizens spurred him onward. He knew the empire's fate might rest on his lonely, dangerous quest. Then, amidst the countless trials, came the moment. It was a subtle shift at first. A new blend, combining what he believed to be purified naphtha with an unprecedented proportion of quicklime, along with other select, volatile resins, and perhaps a touch of sulfur. He heated the mixture cautiously in a small crucible, the air thick with anticipation. When he then brought a damp cloth near the concoction, instead of sputtering out, the mixture reacted with a sudden, ferocious hiss. A torrent of flame erupted, clinging to the fabric, burning with a blinding, white-hot intensity. And then, he lowered the burning cloth into a basin of water. The water did not extinguish it. Instead, the flames roared to life with renewed vigor, dancing on the surface as if the water itself was fuel. The small basin became a miniature inferno, the air around it shimmering with intense heat. The mixture, a viscous, tar-like substance, adhered stubbornly to anything it touched, burning relentlessly until nothing remained but char and ash. Callinicos stared, his heart pounding not just from the heat, but from the terrifying realization of what he had created. This was it. This was the liquid fire, the weapon that could burn on water, the miracle Constantinople desperately needed. A shiver, part exhilaration, part profound dread, ran down his spine. He held in his hands a power that could save his people, but also one that could unleash unimaginable destruction. The necessity of secrecy became paramount. This invention was not merely a military advantage. It was the empire's lifeline. The formula, the method of production, and the unique siphons required to deploy it could never fall into enemy hands. Callinicos understood this implicitly. He immediately set about implementing the most stringent security protocols, ensuring that only a handful of the highest-ranking and most trusted imperial officials, and perhaps a select few apprentices, would ever learn the true nature of this terrifying creation. Even within the imperial court, murmurs of Roman fire would spread, but its exact composition would remain the most jealously guarded state secret for centuries, shrouded in layers of myth, misdirection, and deadly silence. The very act of its creation ensured Callinicos's place in history, but also condemned the knowledge to be kept under 7 locks, a terrifying guardian of the Byzantine Empire. The orders came, swift and secret, from the highest echelons of the empire. Callinicos's invention, so carefully guarded, was finally ready for its true test. A select few Byzantine dromons, sleek, fast warships, were chosen for the trial. Under the cloak of night, his specialized siphons, crafted from brass and bronze, were covertly installed on their bows, their terrifying purpose hidden from all but a handful of trusted engineers and the most disciplined crews. These sailors, though fiercely loyal, felt a prickle of unease. They were familiar with arrows and spears, with grappling hooks and ramming. This new weapon, this liquid fire, was an unknown, unsettling force. Whispers of its unnatural properties spread, even among those sworn to secrecy. The dawn broke, revealing a grim tableau. The Arab fleet, vast and confident, once again bore down on Constantinople's sea walls, their intentions clear: to finally breach the city's defenses. The Byzantine ships, seemingly few in number, moved into position, a desperate line of defense. The air hummed with the tension of impending battle, a symphony of creaking timbers, distant war cries, and the rhythmic splash of oars. As the two fleets closed, the Arab commanders, confident in their numerical superiority, pressed their attack. They saw the Byzantine dromons as nothing more than a minor annoyance, easily overcome. But then, an unheard command ripped through the Byzantine ranks. A lever was pulled, a pump engaged, and from the snout of one of Callinicos's siphons, mounted ominously on the bow of a dromon, something utterly unprecedented erupted. It wasn't a stream. It was a searing, hissing column of raw flame, thick and viscous, shot forth with tremendous force. It arched through the air, a terrifying, fiery serpent, before slamming directly into the hull of a lead Arab ship. There was no explosion, no immediate detonation. Instead, the liquid fire simply adhered. It clung to the wooden planks, to the rigging, to the very sails, igniting them instantly with an unholy, white-hot brilliance. For a moment, the battle seemed to freeze. Then, a collective gasp of disbelief, followed by screams that curdled the blood. The Arab crew, engulfed in flames, leaped desperately into the sea, but the fire followed them. It danced and roared on the water's surface, consuming anything it touched, clinging to their clothes, to their bodies, to their very breaths. The water, their only hope of salvation, betrayed them, becoming a deadly conduit for the inferno. Panic, swift and absolute, swept through the Arab fleet. Ship after ship, hit by the terrifying torrents from the Byzantine vessels, erupted into blazing pyres. The air filled with the stench of burning wood and flesh, thick, acrid smoke billowing into the sky. Commanders shouted futile orders, their voices lost in the cacophony of screams and the roar of the flames. Sailors, eyes wide with terror, threw themselves overboard, only to find the sea itself ablaze around them. This was no ordinary fire that could be doused or contained. This was a nightmare made manifest, a liquid inferno that defied all natural laws. Discipline shattered, the once formidable Arab armada dissolved into a chaotic rout. Ships collided in their desperate flight, their crews abandoning their posts, caring only for escape from this unquenchable, terrifying weapon. The battle, which had promised to be a grueling, bloody affair, was decided in a few horrifying moments of fiery, liquid terror. Constantinople was saved, not by steel or numbers, but by the devastating, revolutionary power of Greek fire. The sea had burned, and the world of naval warfare would never be the same. The screams of burning men and the crackle of flaming ships slowly faded, replaced by the stunned silence of aftermath. The Arabs, what had just transpired defied comprehension. Their mighty fleet, once so confident, was scattered, crippled, and utterly demoralized. The sight of their comrades leaping into a burning sea, their desperate cries abruptly silenced by the unholy flames, was seared into their minds. This was no mere military defeat. It was a terrifying encounter with a weapon that felt supernatural, a trick of the devil himself. Their initial shock quickly curdled into a deep-seated dread. Commanders, hardened by countless conquests, found their resolve crumbling. How could they fight an enemy whose weapon turned the very water against them? Whispers spread like wildfire through their ranks, tales of devil's fire that couldn't be quenched, of sorcery defending the infidel city. The psychological impact was immense, far outweighing the physical losses. Morale plummeted, and the relentless drive that had propelled their conquests for decades faltered. Subsequent assaults on Constantinople became hesitant, tentative. The very mention of the liquid fire could now send shivers down a seasoned sailor's spine, breaking their will before the battle even began. The weapon had become a legend, a terrifying myth that preceded the Byzantine fleet, often ensuring victory without a single direct engagement. On the other side of the burning waters, the reaction among the Byzantines was a profound, almost dizzying mix of awe, relief, and triumphant euphoria. As the Arab fleet retreated in disarray, a roar erupted from the city walls and the decks of the dromons, a cheer that shook the very foundations of Constantinople. Soldiers, citizens, and even the emperor himself watched, dumbfounded, as the unquenchable flames consumed the enemy. What had seemed like inevitable doom had been miraculously averted by a single, terrifying innovation. The initial bewilderment quickly gave way to a fervent belief in divine intervention. Many saw Greek fire as a gift from God, proof that divine favor rested upon the Byzantine Empire. Callinicos, the reclusive inventor, was instantly elevated to a hero's status, though his exact methods remained a tightly held secret, known only to the highest echelons. His genius had not only saved the capital, but had granted the empire a strategic superiority that would endure for centuries. The morale boost was immeasurable. The Byzantines, once beleaguered, now felt invincible at sea, knowing they possessed a weapon that no enemy could counter. The implications were clear. Constantinople, the Eastern Roman Empire, had been preserved. The Arab tide, so long unstoppable, had met its unyielding barrier. This single fiery engagement fundamentally shifted the balance of power in the Mediterranean, securing the Byzantine Empire's naval dominance and ensuring its continued existence as a bulwark against Eastern expansion for generations to come. The liquid fire had not just won a battle, it had bought time, forged a legend, and reaffirmed the Byzantines' destiny as the inheritors of Roman ingenuity and the guardians of their world. For centuries after its dramatic debut, Greek fire remained the Byzantine Empire's ultimate deterrent, a fearsome secret weapon that solidified its naval supremacy in the Mediterranean. The terror it inspired was so profound that often, merely the sight of a Byzantine dromon with its dreaded siphon was enough to send enemy fleets scattering. It wasn't just a weapon, it was a psychological shield, preserving the empire against countless incursions, particularly from the relentlessly advancing Arab fleets. The formula, tightly controlled and shrouded in layers of imperial secrecy, was guarded with paranoid vigilance. Production was limited to a select few, overseen by trusted officials, ensuring that the knowledge remained within the empire's most inner circle. Yet, despite its unparalleled effectiveness, Greek fire, like all technologies, eventually faded from the battlefield. Its decline wasn't sudden, but a gradual process, influenced by several factors. One major blow came with the Fourth Crusade in 1204 CE, when Constantinople fell not to its traditional enemies, but to Western European crusaders. The city was plundered, its libraries burned, and its secrets likely scattered or lost. While some scholars believe a few Byzantine engineers might have escaped with portions of the knowledge, the centralized, systematic production and deployment of Greek fire certainly suffered immensely. Without the imperial machinery and the unbroken lineage of knowledge transfer, the ability to consistently replicate and deploy the weapon diminished. Another crucial factor was the rise of gunpowder. As early cannons and rudimentary firearms began to appear in the 14th and 15th centuries, the nature of naval warfare fundamentally shifted. While Greek fire was devastating against wooden ships, it couldn't compete with the raw destructive power and range of gunpowder artillery. Ships could now be sunk from a distance, rendering the close-quarters, incendiary attacks of Greek fire less decisive. The era of liquid flame gradually gave way to the age of explosive projectiles. Thus, the exact composition and operational methods of Greek fire became one of history's greatest lost secrets. It vanished from the arsenals, leaving behind a trail of awestruck accounts and tantalizing clues in historical texts. Modern historians and chemists continue to debate its precise formula, piecing together fragments of information and conducting experiments to recreate its legendary properties. Was it a simple mix of naphtha and pitch, or did it involve a more complex, self-igniting chemical reaction with quicklime? The answers remain elusive, forever bound to the lost knowledge of the Byzantine Empire. Greek fire stands as a powerful testament to ancient ingenuity and the profound impact a single technological innovation can have on the course of history. It was a weapon born of desperation, perfected in secrecy, and deployed with terrifying effectiveness, shaping the destiny of an empire and forever altering the landscape of naval warfare. Though the specific formula is lost to time, its legacy endures, a reminder of the brilliant minds of the past and the enduring mystery of technologies that rise, dominate, and then, like ghosts, vanish into the mists of history.